Hello, and welcome to another edition of the 16-ounce Canvas, the Art of Craft Beer podcast. My name is AJ Kearns, and I'm your host here each and every week as we do our best to introduce you to designers, illustrators, and artists from around the world who are bringing your favorite beers and breweries to life. It's that simple, folks. We are world fucking wide. Think about it. That's really cool, right? This week, we are going hyper local. We've got Mr. Steve Raboin. We had the opportunity to meet with Steven at Hanging Hills Brewing Company right there in the Hartford area over the holidays. It was a really great opportunity to sit down, have some beers, talk about his path, his story, how he came to team up with Hanging Hills, and just learn a little bit more about him. Really exciting because Steve's been a really big supporter of the podcast really early on. Started using the hashtag hint. If you're not doing it, you should be doing it. Pound, tic-tac-toe, number sign, 160Z Canvas on all your social media adventures. And then we caught up at the CT Hops for Hope Beer Festival, which was a great success, a great effort, a lot of fun, put on by the one and only Mr. Steve Wood, fellow Eagles fan. Fly, Eagles, fly. Let's bring that Super Bowl home, but it's not a sports podcast, so we won't get too heavy there. But we had the pleasure of meeting there. He's been a big supporter, and we decided that it would make sense if we did the interview in person. So we were really excited to have that opportunity, and thanks to everybody at Hanging Hills for opening up shop early, pouring a few pints, letting us see behind the curtain. Even some dogs came on board. You'll hear them later on. What's a tap room without dogs? What is a band without cymbals? I don't know, but we'll find out. So this is episode number 45. 45, and that is crazy. 45 episodes. We're in our second calendar year. We'll be approaching in April our 1-year anniversary. Maybe we'll find a bar or a brewery to go to, and we'll get drunk with everybody. But even got more exciting news. We'll tease it. It's not finalized. It's a work in progress. But we are working on our summer 2018 Art of Craft Beer event. So stay tuned for that. For more information, check your local listings, tip your bartenders, etc., etc. One more piece of exciting administrative news is we also have launched our YouTube channel. That's what all the kids say, the channel. We have 0 subscribers, so you will be the first on your block, and that's a guarantee. So you'll be getting early access to all the YouTube videos. Exciting. Now, you might be saying, AJ, how are you doing that? And I'm going to say, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing on the YouTube stuff. It's a little hacky right now, but it's done with honesty and transparency. What we're doing right now is in an effort to expand the reach of the podcast, the audio version. We are taking previous episodes. We've started by launching episode 1 with Dan Blakesley, and we throw it up there. We throw the audio in a little iMovie action. We put a few images in there of the work of the artist, and we put it up there. So folks have given comments that they like to listen on different mediums. Some like their traditional, podcast apps, the iTunes, the Stitcher, the Google Play, iHeartRadio, whatever that you're into. We know other folks, from the site are streaming directly or downloading. But the worst we figured is that, it'll be a good opportunity for my mother to, easily listen to it. And so we're putting it up there. We are going to try to create some video. We've uploaded our video shorts that we've used for some promotion of previous episodes. That word I tried to use there was previous. And also, we'll just see where it goes. We're going up to Portland in about 2 weeks, a week and a half, February 2nd, for the Artistic Directions event put on by Will Sears at Oxbow. and that'll feature Keith Shore with McKellar, Carl Grandin with On Polio, and Mike Van Hall of Aslan and Stillwater. So it's really exciting. If you're going up there, please get in touch. We'd love to meet up. So a lot of cool things in the works. You can always check us out, 16ozcanvas.com, and the 16-ounce canvas. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, our website, and now YouTube. We are becoming cool. But remember, this episode is not about me. It's about Connecticut's own Steve Raboin. You can find him at Steve Raboin on Instagram, and also, which we'll talk about, his alter ego, Beer Muscles. It's a good story, folks, so don't go anywhere, because without further ado, it is the one, the only Steve Raboin right here at the 16-ounce canvas, the Art of Craft Beer podcast. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the 16-ounce canvas, the Art of Craft Beer podcast. This week, we are here live at Hanging Hills Brewing Company right in Hartford, Connecticut. I'm joined by the designer himself, Mr. Steve Raboin, checking in here live and in person. We're trying to do this in 3D, so thanks, Steve, for making the time. It is fucking cold outside today, so we are inside having a cold one and warming up a little bit.
Thanks, man. Thanks for inviting me to be on the podcast. I'm flattered.
Yeah, really excited. Really excited to have Steve on today because I've been following his work for a while. He's one of the first artists that really kind of got on board supporting us with putting the hashtag in his work on Instagram. We got to connect this summer at CT Hops for Hope, and really just been a good springboard and bouncing ideas off each other for a while. And we both kind of decided we should do it in person. So we just kind of been being both in Connecticut. We decided that we would make this happen, and it's really good to connect today.
Yeah, man, that's cool. Definitely, I like to support the local people, man. I mean,
yeah, it's great. And like I said, I've been following Steve for a while. His hustle is unique. It's you're definitely you work your ass off. I feel you're always doing one of those challenges. You're always putting out new work. And what I really like is somebody who's kind of hacky, is seeing the process. You're really good about sharing your process, behind the scenes stuff. It's not just, wow, this is done. This is my phases. This is how I did it. And you're definitely sharing your craft and your hustle with folks, which I think is inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of made more of an effort this year to kind of show more of my process. For the longest time, it was like I want to show just a final work or perfect piece, and I don't think people are as impressed by that. They like to see how I got to that final product, whether it be like I'll show some sketches and then maybe some comps, and then the final. I've gotten a lot more feedback that way. I think.
Yeah, at my job, our art director, I'll introduce him to some artists, and he's like, all of a sudden it'd be like they'll show a post where they're like kind of sketching one quick line, and it's like boom, it's this massive like mural. Mm-hmm. It's like, what? How did you get to that, man?
Right.
Yeah, and so I think that especially like I designed for the Doodle or Die, downloaded Illustrator and tried to work some magic there, and it was painful, but I felt just knowing a little bit more about that was been made me appreciate this whole project a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. And plus, it helps for even prospective clients to see that. To see the type of work that goes into things, they don't think I hit the design button and magically things are done. It's there's work and labor that is involved in making the thing you want from me. So I think that helps too. Yeah,
because I think that you're right. And that's another thing with art and design and things that aren't necessarily a tangible, building or something that's to say I put 30, 40 hours in something, just an example. If you don't show the process, it's oh, this guy just quick sketch that and hit a magic button and it looks cool.
Yeah.
So I think also, it's amazing. I mean, just all the process.
Then also kind of been following some mentors online, design business mentors, and as a designer, I'm competing now no longer with just designers in the area. It's designers from other parts of the country or other parts of the world who are willing to do a logo for $15 online. So that's who I have to compete with. And a lot of those people I can't compete with. They're really good and they're really cheap. So I have to show my value in my thinking more than the finished product almost. Show how I arrive to conclusions and more almost about customer service than the finished product, because you can hire anybody to do your go to like Fiverr or 99 Designs, get a logo done for like $1 from some kid in Indonesia. Like,
it is crazy. Yeah, when you find that shit out, it's like, yeah, a lot of folks, yeah. But that's what everyone who has their own business says. Like, you can't be afraid to, ask for that money.
Yep.
We had Matthew Ryan Sharp, and he was like, if I could, eventually one of these days, exposure and all this promises of,
oh yeah,
that'll one day that'll be a tangible, cryptocurrency that I can, exchange in, and maybe I'll make some money off it. But I remember when I did freelance websites, that was the worst, because you didn't have big enough of a portfolio to justify it, but you weren't working it wasn't any easier. You weren't putting any less time in.
Right.
You're probably actually putting more time in because you were so like, this has to be the perfect, hue. This has to be the perfect color. I didn't have any shortcuts back then.
See, I don't know. I part of me is like, I'll do free work, spec work, comps, like to get, if there's an industry I want to break into,
right,
and I have no work in that field, like even to get in Hanging Hills, I did like a label for this dude in New Britain, has like a homebrew company, homebrewing club or something. So I did a label for a beer he made. And then I had done a couple labels for a new brewery in Manchester, Labyrinth. They did like a contest. I was like, I'll throw down in that. Why the hell not? I didn't get paid any money.
Right.
But I did it, and I got the comps, and I put that stuff together on my website. That way, when these guys ended up calling me, I was like, oh yeah, check these out. And they're like, oh, okay, you can do that. Because people need to see it.
Right.
Like, I'm a designer. Like, I can design anything. Like, I feel like I can design anything. But like, the client, they're like, well, you don't have a beer label under your belt, so you can't possibly know how to do that. So, if you want to get that type of work, you got to show people that you can. And that's any field, really. You kind of have to have that type of work in your book.
Yeah, I put it back to and I'm in sales now, so it's easy, but like, people hate to cold call. I don't mind it. I used to go back to when I was in a band or managed the band, and you're not going to get the Friday headlining spot at the biggest club in town just because you're super nice. Like, you're going to get the shitty Tuesday open mic where they might give you like an extra song that night versus somebody else, and then you have to like work your way up.
Right.
So it's like give and take, but I think it's as long as everybody's respectful and not just trying. Because I think artists and designers get grinded out for like, oh, maybe one day, it's like, okay, the dangle of the carrot, which is, then when they grind you out, they dangle the next guy.
Right. That's why, I don't know. You got to kind of, for me anyways, is like weeding out a lot of the riffraff, like the people that'll hit me up and be like, hey, I have this project, I have a huge following, this will be great for exposure or great for your portfolio, which if you read between the lines, be like, I'm not paying you. When I was really young, I would bite for that type of stuff, but like now, I won't bite.
It's hard. It's hard not to bite.
Well, I think I've worked myself into a good spot where like I don't need all the work, and I can say no to things. But that came with doing just a shitload of work. Like, right. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I have enough work under my belt that I can say no. Like, I don't need to jump at every little stupid thing that comes my way. Like, oh, can you do a T-shirt for me? For no money. And I'm like, well, I'd rather not.
We have this band. We sell all these shows. It's like, so you sell at the shows, you get paid money at those shows. Mm-hmm. You're supposedly doing amazingly well, but you can't throw me a couple bucks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's like the guy who says like, do this project for me, and he'll be balking at, a bill for a couple $100, and then you see him driving in his like Mercedes, his BMW, his Land Rover, and you're like, come on, man. Yeah. So like, that's the guy that's gonna bust your balls. It's not the.
Yeah, that guy's gonna be like, oh, this. Can you come back and give me 6 more versions of this?
Yeah.
So let's take one step back.
Yeah, sure.
How did Steve get into design? How did you get into drawing and design and art?
I was always an artist. I was really, really bad at school, like terrible. But I learned really young that I was really good at drawing. I'm talking like 1st, 2nd grade. I used to zone out and not pay attention to a damn thing. Look out the window and just like draw pictures of shit and doodle all day long, comic book characters and stuff, like forever. I had all kinds of artwork displayed in like the Capitol and won all kinds of art awards as a young kid. And I don't know, just it's something I knew I was good at, and it was easy for me, so I just always went in that direction. Kind of fell off in high school when I like discovered girls and playing football and wrestling and sports and stuff. I kind of was like, nah, art is kind of fruity, so kind of got away from it and was like all testosterone for 4 years. It's kind of funny. But then my senior year, I had an open elective, and I went and took like Art 1. Yeah. And just for the hell of it, I had to take something. And I was like smoking it, and like the art teacher was like, "Have you ever thought of going to art school?" I was like, "I hadn't even thought about doing anything. I thought I was going to play in the NFL, but I'm 5'6", so it's not going to happen." What schools have you applied to? I'm like, none. Like I hadn't even applied to any colleges or anything. I was like such a shithead. Like I was like, I'm going to play football forever, but like by my senior year.
Right.
Like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what's happening? You're leaving here in a couple months. So I ended up going to Central, Connecticut State University. I didn't have a portfolio built to go to any sort of like fancy art school, and I had no money. So I went to Central. They had a really good art program there. So I went to their illustration program for 3 semesters. Did a bunch of drawing, nothing crazy. Then I ended up actually leaving there after 9/11, joined the Marine Corps again with this testosterone, like jacking up my whole career trajectory in my life. Let's go be Rambo for 4 years. Yeah. Did that, and at the end of my enlistment, I had like 6 months left, and I wasn't going to get deployed again, so I took some art classes in a community college out on the West Coast, Palomar College. Took like a life drawing class. And then I took this rendering course from a guy named Chris Polentz, who was like fantastic. He was the best art teacher I ever had. He showed me how to use like pencils and paints correctly to how like it's called rendering, was how to make something look very like photorealistic, which was awesome. How to like teach your eye to really look at like the small details that make things look like correct, photorealistic, which is manipulating the lights and the darks and stuff like that. And that even carries over to me now, like what I do now. So then when I was discharged, I came back to Connecticut, and I had applied to go back to Central, but in their graphic design program, because I was like, I'm not an artist. Like, I like art, but I'm like, I want to work. I don't want to be hunched over an easel my whole life making no money. So I found graphic design, which is like web design and art that you can get paid to do and make money. So I thought that was a good fit, and since the 3 semesters that I had gone previously, all of the prereqs there translated to the graphic design program, I was able to bang out that degree in like 3.5 years. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was 25. I was like, I need to go to work. I need to start making money. I have like bills and car payments and insurance to pay for. So I did that. Graduated there. I think it was like 2009 I graduated. Which in 2000, it was like mid-2009, beginning of 2009, which I don't know if you remember at the time, the economy was pretty awesome.
Really well?
Yeah.
Especially for,
we were really kicking
for marketing departments and graphics.
Like that was like people in like the creative and art departments were getting schwacked left and right. So trying to find a job was actually really tough. Luckily, I hustled pretty hard, and I got an internship, a couple internships out of college, and then I got hired at an agency, worked there for 3.5 years. We did tons of like near Hartford here, so it was like all like insurance stuff. But I learned how to like work my ass off. I had a couple kids, and that agency life got exhausting. So I took an in-house job at a hospital here in Hartford, worked in a department in the marketing department for like 3 years, got my master's from Quinnipiac, learned like video production, animation, all kinds of like other media stuff. And now I'm working full-time in Hartford editing video, working on my own stuff. The furry dogs are out.
Yeah. the dog pound. Well, I have to,
the dog's out.
You're our first vet we've had on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, cheers to that. Yeah, right? That's awesome.
It's always like a weird comment, like, thanks for your service. I don't ever know what to say to it. I'm always like,
yeah, I can't imagine. I don't, I'm definitely, I'm definitely a liberal dude, but like I think that it's amazing that like the commitment that people make. It's just we're in a weird time period, but I think that there needs to be a distinction between the people and the process, and the people need to get a lot more, I don't know, appreciation or respect, or just kind of separate from all the bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes with being like young, stupid, and poor. I joined, like I was like, I have no money, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm a badass, I guess I'll join the military. Looking back, I'm like, oh, that's stupid, but.
Yeah, but I mean, you're like, I'll say it again, like Steve's work ethic, if you follow him online, is like second to none. I mean, you're working a full-time job. I mean, fuck, being a dad, like you and I have kids, like that's in and of itself a whole nother world of stress and problems and happiness and everything else. But always putting out new stuff, always working hard. And it's really just, I think it's, like I said before, it's inspiring. So maybe that's a military-esque. I know I used to wrestle, so I mean, even the wrestling grind that's push your body 3 times more than you ever thought was humanly possible, and then it's still not enough, and you weigh too much, and you need to wear a trash bag. And
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that's one of the things I've always I've admired from just kind of following from afar is your grind is pretty on point. You work really hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just take a look around. In this area, like I think being a dad, being in Hartford, my opportunity is pretty limited in town here. Like even in Connecticut, there's not a whole hell of a lot of jobs for like a senior art director for me to make like really good money doing really cool stuff. There isn't there. And I said this to myself when I went and got my master's, like if I cannot find the job that I want, I'm gonna make the job that I want. So that's why I kind of really put a huge premium on my side work and building that, because ultimately that's where I want to be. That's the stuff I want to be doing full time. And yeah, just like I'm gonna make my own opportunity. If I'm not happy here, I'm the one who's in charge of that. And if I can do anything about it, I will. And that's it. Like I will grind myself to death to be better, to be more valuable, to get better work, to be valued in the community, to.
Right, but to put it in perspective for folks like scoring at home, so we did the Doodle or Die with Robbie Davis, and you have your 2 monikers. You have Steve Raboin, and you have your beer muscles. You were doing 2 sketches a day.
Yeah.
2 sketches a day, and then immediately following that, you had your superhero one.
Yep.
And then before that you were doing a logo one, and then you did your Star Wars stuff. I mean, like it's always grinding.
Yeah. There's a thing I always tell people too. It's like creativity begets creativity. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't even know what to do. Like dudes I went to design school with, they're like, oh, you got really good. How'd you get so good? Because like I wasn't like anybody leaving design school. I was just, we were all the same.
They're very good with their words, huh? You're good.
Yeah, like how'd you get so good? And I'm like, well, like it's weird, the more I do, the better I get. But that's anything. Like you want to get good at doing a podcast or jujitsu or anything. You have to do it over and over. It shocks me when I see people that like don't do anything, and then they're kind of like waiting for the universe to like.
Yeah, like
give them something.
Their portfolio is only like tangible projects. It's like,
or not even that.
I mean, I don't know. Those the Yoda. I mean, I've seen Darth Vader and Yoda a million times, right? I mean, if you're like Star Wars, I mean, you came in here with your Darth Vader mug. I got my boys, all of our Star Wars gear. But those sketches were killer, and half the ones you were doing with one of the accounts was just with the Sharpie marker most days.
Yeah. Yep.
And like that was the other thing. You're like, I'm just trying a new technique, and you were just like, fuck you, like those were good. And then with a Sharpie marker, I was like, all right. And I was like, oh, even just me as a nobody, just trying to do those, I felt like that was a good exercise for me to like understand, like just trying to create something every day, or having to create something that you didn't want to create. Like some of those words were really hard for me to come up with an idea for, let alone make something cool. And I didn't go back and like edit it out. I was just like, whatever this comes out this is what's going to put out today.
Yeah.
But it was really therapeutic. I really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, I thought it was super fun. But like I was saying, like creativity begets creativity. Like once like I decided like 2 years ago that I'm just gonna like post one thing every day, no matter what it is. And like at the beginning, it was really, really crappy it was terrible. Like I deleted all of it because it's like garbage. It was just like there's like 2 years worth of shit that I just obliterated because it was trash. But it gave me the opportunity to, one, like think of new ideas, like try to express myself in different ways. Two, like I found like a technique that I wanted to try out, or try a different tool. So I'm kind of doing all of that stuff. What I liked about the challenges is like it's very specific and it's focused. So like, so like for the beer muscles, it was like, all right, I'm going to do it all, and I'm going to do it with a Sharpie during lunch at work. I'm just going to bang these out real quick. The ones I did for Steve Raboin were like way more intense. Like I did them like way too much time. Like way too much time. Like that Yoda Darth Vader, I think I sat there for like 4 hours on a Sunday. My wife's like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I saw your wife. Thankfully, I met your wife before we had the challenge. Yeah, she was like, what did you get my husband to do?
Yeah. But it's like once you now I'm in a spot where like I don't have enough time to do all the stuff that's swirling around in my head that I want to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Do you have like a bucket list or things you want like you try to do, or just?
I don't know. It's hard right now. I'm like in the middle of vacation. Right now I'm in like effort mode. Right now my project is compiling all the stuff I did all year into like a book, and I'm putting that together. I showed you earlier.
Yeah. Are you gonna make a physical book?
I don't think I'm gonna have it printed. It's gonna be like a digital, just to like show people.
Yeah.
Because I think people see my stuff, here and there. But I think if I presented it that way, and you could see, I'm like on page like 70 something of like just unbelievable amount of work.
Right.
I mean, some of it's good, some of it's trash, but whatever. It's definitely the most work I've done.
Yeah. Now, how would you describe kind of like your style, or the dreaded A word, the aesthetic? Like, I think you're very versatile. So one of the things, this question was cool a couple months ago when I first thought of it, but now a lot of designers, and especially with being the flexibility of clients, the aesthetic is almost not having one. So I think this answer always varies.
I don't think I have one, to be perfectly honest. I think I would consider myself like a chameleon, like, because I will create whatever a client wants me to create. That's good, I guess. But I mean, I'd love to be one of those guys who was known for having this one specific style. That's really hard to do. That's like, like writers spend their entire life learning how to write and then finding their voice, right? Like, there's some artists out there that like you see a piece of work and you know exactly whose that is, or like they get work based on their look. There's a guy who's like Hydro74 on Instagram, right?
Okay.
He has like this really, really cool illustration style. It's like one of a kind. You can spot his stuff from a mile away, but he gets hit up by like Xbox, Star Wars, LucasArts, Nike, and he just like does all these really cool line art pieces. Like he has like really top tier clients, and he draws like really dope shit. Like he does all the packaging for like Star Wars toys, like the illustrated stuff.
Yeah.
It's tight. Or like an Aaron James Straplin, like he has that like specific look, like that old retro like 70s sort of look, chunky type, bright colors that everyone kind of emulates now. But like he's known for that look. Or there's another guy like Signal Noise up in Nova Scotia, does like all the super retro 80s. Like he started that 80s retro like glowing pink type like a couple years ago, and his stuff's taken off. He does like he's getting commissioned to do like movies for Hollywood, like these cool old retro movie posters and stuff like that. So I wish I had that ability. It's just I haven't found it, or even like I don't even know how to go about finding the aesthetic. I'd say that right now where I'm at, I'm taking on as much work and doing as much work as I can. So I make my style fit whatever the product is or the service is for the client. Like if they're trying to sell this, then it's going to look like this. Like I look at, what does the client need? What are they trying to do? Who are they trying to reach? And then I will mimic, I would create something for them for that, for the purpose. Like what's the end use? Like who's the end target market and stuff like that.
Yeah, so. I think most recently you did like a law firm.
Yep.
And it was really great to see all the comps and like the early sketches and the ideas and to see it like you showed behind the curtain like tenfold. So to see like the evolution of that, and if you were set in one way, you might not have. They would have been like, oh, well, these are 3 of Steve's like go-to looks, and then that's not what we're trying to go for this younger, hipper law firm. Or
Sure. Well, for my process for like logos and branding and stuff like that, it's like I'll sit down with the business owners and all the decision makers and stakeholders to talk about like who they're trying to reach, like who are you trying to do business with, who's going to make the bulk of your clientele, like who's paying you money. Okay, like who are those people? What do they like? What do they drive? What do they see? What do they respond to? All right, well, let's connect you to. Like that law firm wants to go after millennial realtors. Well, what is that? Female millennial realtor. What's she into? What does she drive? I was like stalking Facebook pages of people that fit this demographic and like looking at their photos of what kind of stuff were they flaunting,
some market research.
Exactly. So then when I came back with them, like the logo looked like this really like posh fashion piece. Like it looked like something that would fit perfectly. Like this woman would love it, right? And it's a matter of just fitting, making a look that like that will resonate to the target client, to the target market. So it takes me out of it, right? So it's not my taste or what I think it should be, and it's also not my client's gut reaction, what they think it should be. It's what their client wants. So it kind of takes that emotional gut reaction out of it,
right.
and makes you think more logically and more from a business standpoint than just like a gut feeling.
Right.
Which, you know, like I don't like blue. Well, okay, but maybe your prospective client likes blue. So
right.
Let's remove yourself from it.
Yeah.
So.
And we are back. You're listening to the 16-ounce canvas, the Art of Craft Beer podcast, episode number 45, 45. As we said before, this week's features artist, if you haven't picked up on it, is Steve Raboin, Connecticut's own. He does all the great work at Hanging Hills Brewing Co. up there in Hartford, Connecticut. You can find Steve at Steve Raboin on Instagram. Also, his beer muscles, his alter ego, the yin to his yang. But one of the great things, you might have seen some of Steven's work before we introduce you to him through the 16-ounce Doodle or Die. And through that, it reiterated to me the incredible work ethic that Steve has. The guy is putting out work all the time. It's a lot of, sometimes it's commission work, sometimes it's for clients, sometimes it's beer work. But creating. His pencil is always sharp. He's always working. He's not, sitting back and waiting for things to come to him. He's got his day hustle, he's got his side hustle, and he's probably got a third hustle there. And he's a really impressive. It was really great to speak to him, to learn about that. Super humble guy. He just keeps his head down and grinds, and it was really great. Also, as we mentioned, he's our first vet to have on there, so we thank him for his service. We'll repeat that again. I know he said it's awkward for him. He doesn't know what to say back, so we thought we'd say it a few more times just to thank him for his service. So when he's listening, he's not sure what to do with his hands. But we do appreciate it. We do appreciate all of his support. It's really nice. We're trying to build a community here. We were, no egos. We hope that whatever reason it is that you're listening to the podcast, that there's something you take away from it. Whether it is you have a new appreciation for an artist, or maybe you as an artist or a small business person, or just somebody who loves craft beer and you're trying to bring the circle together. I know that personally for me, I've been making more of an effort. One of the goals of 2018 is to be a little bit better with networking, trying to listen to other podcasts in the craft beer scene. Some are a little intimidating when they talk about, the different tastes or profiles and things that they get when they drink a beer. I know what I like and I'm able to describe it fairly well, but I also, cannot tell you that I smell, a certain type of fruit and, tobacco and this spice and that spice and that, this was brewed this style. Yeah, I can't do it. I don't know if I'm ever going to do it or if I ever want to do it. I definitely, there's some good and there's some bad. It creates a little Yeah, it can be really weird when some of the stuff that they're saying. It's just like you had that beer in your mouth for 30 seconds and you're going to tell me all this stuff. But we digress. So I just really enjoy experiences like this because, the ones in person are a lot of fun. The audio quality, I think it was actually really great. I think we continue to focus on our production here. I think we're really making an effort to bring you a quality product. We're not just, half-assing it. We're full ass. This is a full ass production. And so we just really it was a great opportunity to try a brewery, in person, go there, meet some of the staff, and really enjoyed the beers that I had. I had a nice stout and it was one of their New England IPAs. And it was just really, a good experience to be there, to kind of see all of Steve's work, up on the walls, and do it in person because they're fun. We're working. If you're an audiophile or audio geek and you've got cool recommendations on different mics or setups, we're always listening. We'd love to hear from you. Don't be a stranger. Yeah, it's that easy. Humble. We're humble. We have no pretense here. We're continuing to grind. We have a couple more episodes left in season 4, our 4th 12-pack. We'll be getting into our season 5. And we're pretty close to locking up season 6, so it's really exciting. We're going to hit that year mark and keep pushing forward. So stay tuned for more information there. Steve Raboin, Beer Muscles, 16-ounce canvas. Let's get right back into it. So without further ado, part 2 for you. Yabba dabba doo.
Now, what is your on the nerd level? Like, what are you? I mean, I've seen your sketches, so are you drawing and scanning? Like, what is your process? What's the
for what?
sauce? Like, I don't know, for the law firm or for your
Okay,
let's go all your labels. Like, are you hand drawing them, or you're all digi, or?
It's kind of a mix, man. It depends on what it is. Okay, for like the beer labels, a lot of times Joe will hit me up and say, "Hey, we're releasing a beer. Here's the name." That's fine.
Edit point number 6. No, just kidding.
All right. So for like the beer labels, a lot of times Joe will hit me up and he'll say, "Hey, we're releasing a beer in a couple weeks. This is the style and this is the name." And he might. Sometimes it'll be like, "I have no idea what I want it to be. Here's the style and here's the name." Or sometimes it'll be like, "Here's a very specific thing I want." A lot of times what I'll do is I'll take his idea and I'll try my best to give it back to him the way he requested it. And then I will kind of poke at him a little more to give me more information. Like, okay, like what made you come up with this, right? Like what, you say you want an old lady climbing up a mountain. Well, what do you really mean? So if there's a better way I can show that, that's not a nail on the head, like super literal image. Is there something else I can do that kind of does the same thing? I think, looking around here, I think like that one, Life in the Woods, which is like just a pile of leaves. Originally, like he said, "Oh, I want to see like a nature scene with a lake and a camp and a campfire and like all this shit everywhere." I'm like, "Oh man, that sounds awesome, but like that's gonna be a lot of freaking work unless you want to license like a painting that exists and pay somebody like royalties and stuff like that." So I like came up with what he kind of asked me, but I was like, or we can do something like that, which you might want to show later. It's like very simple, just a couple lines of text in like a pile of leaves. Like that's Life in the Woods, right? Like like kind of show him like what it could be. So for the beer labels like that, there's a lot of back and forth. Some are easy, some are like more difficult. Just depends on what they come at me with. For like logos and stuff, I do a ton of like I kind of described earlier, like meeting with the client and like who they want to contact, and then do a ton of market research and kind of showing them what their clients like, and then the work process would be like a ton of research, tons of sketches. This process that I described earlier, though, it kind of really helps me and filters out, because I could do like a million logos, right? Like, oh, it could be this, this, and this. Where like if I do the process that I explained, I'm like, all right, well, there's only like really 3 directions I can go now. So then it really refines the process and makes the design process much easier for me.
Now, how did you come to that process? 'Cause that seems like a very like evolved way of thinking.
I
Probably
learned,
younger Steve was probably like,
oh yeah,
explore
young
the
Steve
logo.
would be like, oh, here's 20 options that I drew and executed, like, and people would be like, oh, Jesus, I don't know what the hell to do, and I'm like, I would go ape shit, right? Like, here's 20 different logos, and they'd be like all over the goddamn place. You know what I mean? I actually learned it. I follow a guy online who's like a really cool. His name is Chris Doe. He runs like he's like one of those like life coach people, but for like designers.
Okay.
Because there's a lot like a Gary Vee type, but
Yeah.
for designers, right?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of in design school and in the design industry. There's so much harping on like design and aesthetics and oh, that logo is dog shit, or that font is terrible, or that color doesn't fit, but there's never any talk about like how to be a business person and how to run a business correctly. It's like, no, you just work your ass off, and you know what I mean, like it's all about the work
Yeah.
and not like how to
Yeah.
run a business, where
This-
that's his thing, is like how to
Yeah.
actually be a viable business person.
Yeah. It's come
in
up
design.
twice. It's come up last 2 or 3 interviews, and there's a guy we interviewed, Matt Leach. He works at Virginia Beer Company and Brothers. He teaches a class at James Madison. It's like very little art and more like the business, like how to make an invoice.
Yeah.
Like how to like put a presentation together.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that was one of our earlier episodes. And like last couple, like people were like, man, I wish someone would have taught me that, or I learned that way too late in the game.
Yeah.
This, and it was like, oh man. So
We like design school would be like, all right, choose a font. All right, I chose that font. Well, you need better know like who designed that typeface, when they designed it, the year they designed it, like all this like things that are like, yeah, it's important,
Yeah,
but like
right.
really who gives a shit? Like,
the Helvetica documentary.
yeah, like I would rather know like yeah, exactly, like how to do your quarterly taxes.
Right. Yeah.
How to deduct your shit in your office so you could do work, like how to find clients, how to invoice
Yeah.
people, how to price yourself correctly, you know what I mean, like that's
yeah.
actual stuff.
That's, I think it's, yeah, right. Because you're just like, you go to this number, you like slide it across the table, and you're like, yeah, we good? Like, yeah.
But this guy is really cool. Like
All right.
following his stuff took me from being like, I don't know, I don't know, please give me money, now where I'm straight up like, it's this much.
Yeah. Yeah,
And that's that.
I remember when I met you with your brother, where you were like bagging heads. You're like, I have this system. He was like, all right. You like backed out. It was great.
Because like I again, I keep talking about the same thing. It's like, like attracts like. And why I don't like to do cheap work anymore is because you do cheap, shitty work for cheap ass people, they're only going to refer you to other cheap ass people. Where like if you do really good work for people that are willing to pay you money, they're going to refer you to people like them.
Right.
So if you can eliminate
Yeah.
the ding
And
dongs,
this would be a good way to segue into our next question. But I've kind of realized that, like, for breweries who care, they're making an investment. Like, if they make a good beer, your artwork is important. But once someone sees your artwork for the first time, the beer is what keeps them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're making an investment in having Steve do our labels and Steve bring our vision to life. And they're committed to you, or they're committed to, like, all these different breweries are making that choice to pay that extra money for that special wrap, or that special can. And I think that says a lot. So I think it's yeah, to your point, like some folks are like, fuck it, I'm gonna hack this, logo up that, like, in paint, and I hope it looks cool, but my beer's gonna be world class. They don't see like the branding and the marketing of it.
yeah, I think you could get away with that earlier, like 10 years ago. You could have
Yeah.
like taken a dump on a
Yeah.
label, slapped it on your can, and people would have like applauded you. Like I remember like 10 years ago being like, oh, that label looks like shit, and people would be like, oh, it doesn't matter what the label looks like, it's on the inside.
Because it was like the cans were becoming new, so it was like this tiny little sticker.
Yeah.
And or they would be like, fuck it, and they would just write like in big black marker,
Yep.
like Joe IPA, and like that's all it was.
Right.
And they didn't care. But now it's like,
You can't anymore now
like-
because now there's so many breweries out there
yeah,
that even like,
the Instagram game, right? You gotta like,
Yeah.
you gotta look cool in somebody's feed, right? And
Yep,
it's like,
yep.
Unfortunately, I've had many shitty beers that look really cool.
oh yeah,
It's like,
I definitely.
yeah! It's like,
Yeah, more times than not, like I've had like a beer. It's like, man, I wish they spent more time concocting this beverage than they did designing the label. The label is sweet. And then the other way around too, like I've had beers that were like phenomenal that came in like there was nothing on the can.
Yeah.
So now like I don't even trust the labels. I have a beer guy in my neighborhood. I'm like, what is the best beer that's like the freshest? And
or you give your brother bring you
closest?
treehouse all the time.
Yeah, basically. But he moved to Nashua. So my treehouse.
Oh, what?
Yeah, my stream is cut off, man.
Terrible person.
Nah.
So, step back. How did you come to team? I mean, we've kind of skipped over where we are, but how did you come up to team up with your Hanging Hills?
So, like I said, with the whole beer muscles thing, I started that for fun because, you know, my joy outside of design is I like to work out. I feel that's necessary. I've always been into fitness and sports and stuff like that. I've always been into like lifting weights and stuff like that. And I've always been into craft beer.
I do like how you say lifting weights. Like if you really follow along, like he's not just like, oh, I'm gonna do like a 35-pound curl. It's like squats and deadlifts.
Olympic weightlifting.
Right.
So heaving as much over my head. Like
right. Putting your back and body and like.
I think that like it comes to like I played football. I wrestled. Like I need the adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Like, this could kill me.
Right.
Because if I don't have that level of like danger, like I'm like whatever. I'm not.
We'll get to the story. When I first met Steve, it was, like I said, it was at Hops for Hope, and he was wearing a shirt that said Dad Life. And I was like, or a dad bod. And I'm like, I'm looking like a fucking pear. I haven't been to the gym in months. I feel like so shitty about myself. And he's like, dad bod. And I was like, dad bod? I know if that was my dad bod, I'd be like, I'd be good to go. And you're like, oh, I haven't been lifting in a couple of weeks. I feel really, I was like, all right, if I didn't like you already, we would not be friends. But,
I'm hard on myself, man.
Yeah.
I'm hard on myself. I feel like I think all my work is dog shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, self-hate, you know.
Self-loathing.
That's probably where all my work comes from.
Self-deprecation, right? If you can't make fun of yourself.
Yeah.
But no, you were saying we gotta get.
Oh yeah, that's right. So Hanging Hills, like I said with the whole beer muscles thing, I was excited because Hanging Hills had opened up, and there's a couple other places in town opened up, and I was really like retweeting their announcements about opening, and really excited about that happening because I had been involved in the craft beer scene in this area for a while. Back to like 2006 when I got out of the military, there was 5 breweries in the state. 5. Now there's pushing 50 possibly?
Yeah, I think it's
right?
almost 60 now. Yeah.
So that you're looking at in 11 years, that's a massive growth. Not much in Hartford. So to have these guys open up was great. And I came down with my brother one day. We had hopped around a whole bunch of breweries. That we hit a bunch in Middletown, and this was our last stop. So I was a little bit shitty.
Not the best version of yourself.
I mean, I'm a happy drunk. I'm a fun guy. I don't get belligerent or anything. But I ran into Joe, and we were just kind of shooting shit. And he recognized me. He's like, hey, you're that beer muscles guy. He's like, oh, let me buy you a beer. You're always sharing our stuff. And I had mentioned being a designer, blah, blah, blah. And that was that. We were very friendly about it. So then I had come in and, a couple times, and we talked about it. And I had done some design work for a food truck, and he was trying to get some craft beer on his food truck. And when I made the connection of those two, I said, hey, Joe, by the way, I'm also a designer. If you're looking for any help, just keep me in mind. He emailed me back saying, hey, the guy that was helping us can't help me anymore. Come on in. I came in. We talked. I should show them the spec work I had done for the home brewer. He was like, hey, let's do it.
Full
and then
circle.
That was in March.
Yeah.
And now I've done every beer they've released since, and I did a bunch of stuff for their annual first annual party and a bunch of their social media. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty steady. They do 2 beer releases a month.
Right.
A bunch of
Yeah,
bunch of fun stuff.
yeah. We're in Hartford. I'm in Shelton, and at first it was I didn't really know much about Hanging Hills, and they come. Yeah, I said I have a great shop in the neighborhood, and they got 2 to 3, 4 sometimes different other beers. So it was kind of wow, you turned me on to them, but it was kind of nice to see that they're expanding, which is it's hyper. Connecticut's hyper competitive because originally didn't have all the breweries, but it had all the distribution, so it had all the big players for the most part. And now it's unless it's a really really good beer shop, the shelf space is super aggressive.
Yeah, I think I just hit it off with them. We had the same kind of attitude. Joe's a pretty cool guy, pretty laid back, pretty mellow. He seemed like a guy I would have partied with in high school,
Right.
So him and I kind of hit it off pretty well, and, so I wish them the best of luck. If they do well, I do well.
Right.
So it's in my best interest that they they make great beer and continue to sell.
So what's the project management like life cycle like? All right, so it's roughly 2 beers a month. Like, is it like I need this label tomorrow, or?
It kind of when we first kind of started, it was a little bit more like, hey, let's try it out, because I don't think they knew my capabilities, so they'd give me a little more time to come up with some things. But like anything, they'll do. All right, we're gonna do these 2 beers. Here are the labels. I usually get about a week to do a label, and then once in a while they'll come up with a collaboration, or they'll need something like it's got to go to the TTB to get approved.
Yeah.
So we'll send it off, and we won't realize that it comes back like the day before it's supposed to go to print. Oh, we need to have a change. Sometimes it gets a little hairy, and then I'm trying to help out with them, like social media, like when they're going to release. I'll try to make something really nice for their Instagram page when they say, hey, we're releasing this, so it kind of looks tight. Sometimes that'll be like that week I need it done. So it's not too bad. Usually by the end of the month is when they're kind of going into crunch mode. Like we're really, because the thing is they need, TTB could take forever to approve a label. So like the earlier they get it, the more time they have to approve it, and then they print it.
What kind of stuff have you had? I thought that'd be a good like sub podcast, like the TTB like rejections. Like, what have you had pushback from them?
It's always weird if you do like something like. So lately they've been doing a couple like collaborations with bands.
Okay.
So like they did one with like the Drive-By Truckers, and
wow.
it's like they called it like a Georgia Brown, and like TTB came back like you need to put brewed in the USA or product of the USA because it could be confusing. Like it's from the
like
country Georgia. What the fuck?
What?
Or, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
like
Drive-By Truckers. Yeah.
yeah, or like sometimes
That's pretty cool. No, they're pretty huge band.
I don't know. I'm not
You
really.
know them?
No.
They're like
I have heard of them, but I
it's
don't
like
know.
honky tonk, like jam band, like dirty, like rock and roll. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
The one guy, I haven't seen him in years. I remember him like slugging JD like ultra aggressively when I saw him at the festival. It was like, and they were just like, trucker hats and the whole thing. Yeah.
But it's all based on like I guess who gets it at the TTB. Like, if they name their beer weird, so say instead of like, you got to call it India Pale Ale or Lager, or it's got to be a recognizable beer style. If you try to be cute with it, they're gonna be like, well, what the hell does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like so like they have a YPA, Yellow Pale Ale. They'll be like, well, what is that? You know what I mean? Like anything that's not traditional, they kind of question.
Yeah, we've heard stories of Against the Grain. They fuck with them all the time. I think they say they feel like you're saying about who gets it. Like one guy they feel like gets it all the time. They call him like the captain, and he just always doesn't matter what they send. He always sends it back with like minutia. And then Founders had one where for the breakfast stout, like you couldn't in Michigan you couldn't have a baby drinking alcohol. Children using alcohol. So they had to make a Michigan specific label that had no baby on it.
Oh wow!
And it said like, they basically did like they made like a funny like 1-800 number, and people would call like missing, and people called me like a hotline. And if you go to their YouTube page, they had like all the videos of like people couldn't find the baby. It was pretty funny, but I was like,
funny.
man, that's just painful. Like that's gotta be rough.
That reminds me of like this one here, the Heartbeat. See that like very medical looking heart?
Yeah.
They actually canceled that because they said that indicates that this is a health drink. So what we did, the approved label's not up there, but I turned that into a hop cone.
Oh, okay.
Instead of a heart in that pass.
And like a heart-shaped hop cone?
No, it was just a straight up hop cone. Like I took out that heart shape and put a hop cone there.
That's good. That kind of brings your whole working in medical full circle, right?
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I remember that one. So Jesus.
All right.
But you never know. You never know what the TTB is gonna say. They're like all over the place. I feel like
Yeah, I agree. Everything I've heard, and if you're listening to TTB, we love you. But it just depends on who the person is that works there. And basically, it's because I've heard like they'll send it back and be like, "Are you sure?" And they'll send it back, and the person like, "That's great," and then they'll pick something else. And it's like that part was already approved, and you told me to change this.
Yeah.
And we didn't change that. So I don't know. That's a part of it. There's no TTB for podcasts, so we're good. So what else would we ask? So what kind of what are your go-to beers? What are you drinking? Like what are your
Well, back in the day, it would have been like anything West Coast.
Yeah.
But now Connecticut's gotten pretty good, man. There's a lot of good beer here. So I'll go anything local for sure, unless like somebody says no, you gotta drink this. It's gotta be hyper local. I only drink like strictly like New England beers now. Mostly IPAs.
Which is a great problem to have. I mean,
yeah,
I'm a Philly boy, born and raised, and we butt heads on. Steve's a Cowboys fan, so that's one of our few years I can kind of gloat. But we'll see what happens with St. Nick Foles. And but yeah, I think that it's never been a better time to be in New England for beer.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, if you go from Connecticut north, every state is holding their own.
Yep. I mean, mostly IPAs, hoppy beers, but for Christmas I bought a 12-pack of that Von Trapp like mixer because I just want like a nice clean lager. I'm just like hopped out. Like,
right.
I need something just like mellow.
Yeah, there's some great pilsners and stuff. I don't find myself always going for it, but I definitely have a beer that's not like 8 or 9%, and my taste buds are crushed after a couple of them.
Right.
Is important.
Yep.
Excellent. So what's the Beer Muscles Steve Raboin studio like? When are you listening to tunes? Are you ambiance guy? What are you doing?
Usually I'm listening to like super aggressive heavy metal. Like Mastodon is usually like my go-to.
Yeah.
Like just like complete like rage.
I mean, everything he's talked about like 85 times already mentioned is like testosterone, adrenaline, and rage. And he's like the chillest guy wearing his like comfy little holiday sweater. He's got his little snowflakes on. And then if you look at his picture online, he's got a little Santa hat. So it's kind of I see the two personalities, right? The Beer Muscles is like the aggro, and the Steve Raboin.
I'm able to like contain it, like but inside of me, I describe it like I'm like a boiling.
He's like the Hulk meets like Jekyll and Hyde.
Basically,
yeah.
Like I identify with the Incredible Hulk so much because I'm like I seem so happy on the outside, but like on the inside, I'm like ready to like explode.
Especially when you're not like your super like ZZ Top Junior, beard you had going on.
Yeah, I trimmed it off, man. It was getting. It was getting
nice.
The beard
game is
here,
hard, dude.
But it was really shitty right here.
I have like this weird bald. I have like a bald spot. I can't figure it out. Yeah.
So
this is about as thick as I go on the beard.
Honestly, I like anything that's like super aggressive, meaning like even hip hop that's aggressive. Like something that has like like some emotion behind it, like heavy metal, like old.
So
90s
is it
hip-hop.
tempo? Is like
no, I don't know if it's a tempo. Like even like the vocals, like the delivery, like like that dude. That I can feel that pain in that guy's soul when he's ripping it. Like I really love like Deftones. Like that is awesome. I love even like down to hip hop. Like Wu-Tang Clan and Notorious B.I.G. is like my two favorite hip hop albums of all time. That like it'll be like you put on my phone on skip and it's like Mastodon, Pantera, Biggie. Wu-Tang. Clutch Deftones.
Yeah, my wife got me this awesome Wu-Tang shirt for Christmas. I'm so happy about it.
So.
All right, but like because it's hard to figure out what you're not creating. Like you're always creating. So like, do you have a little area of the house or do you kind of like just take every set? Like, or you're always just, if you're not drawing it, you're thinking it?
I'm kind of like, I have a little office that I work out of sometimes. Sometimes I just like, some of my best stuff happens first thing in the morning because I wake up before anybody in my house, and I'll just pour like a couple cups of coffee and open up my laptop or like grab a sketchbook and do a ton of work. I do more work in like that hour before the rest of the house wakes up than any part of the day because I'm like jacked up on caffeine. Nobody's bothering me. I just like rip out a bunch of ideas or execute.
Now, are you doing
are
you like the tracing online? Or are you drawing it and then? Is it a scan thing? Like,
Oh, like a lot of my drawing stuff, I'll like draw in a notebook and I'll just take a shot with my phone, throw it up on like my Google Drive, download it on my computer, or like even my MacBook Pro, you can just like AirDrop it or whatever right to your computer. I'll load it up into me, maybe I'll bring it into Photoshop and do a little correction, and then I'll bring it to Illustrator. Usually I do like the tracing or whatever I have to do. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it's like I said, and then I feel we would be remiss if we didn't talk about. We talked about his weightlifting. Like, he's a competitive weightlifter. Like, it's ridiculous. So how did you get into that?
Oh well, I played football in high school. I wrestled in high school.
What position of football?
I was a I was a quarterback, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was a quarterback, long snapper, middle linebacker, and I was the kill man on a kickoff team. I played every down. I played in Rockville High School, which we had a super small team. It was like 20 kids on all.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Everyone played both sides of the ball, and I was not the biggest kid at all. I'm like 5'6", like 165 pounds, but like that's where like now that rage and hatred like shines, man. It's like a lot of like the focus of my younger years was playing football and being super aggressive, and it's like now I'm like this 36-year-old dude, and it's like I have nowhere for that to go. Like I spent the first 15 years of my life, 18 years of my life doing that.
Oh yeah.
So
when I learned the crossface, it was like a high school kid. Like, I was like, this is like a legal move I can do right now.
Yeah.
Like you might break a nose, and like, but like that's still legal, right? And they're like, yeah. I was like, this
Headlock
is so,
people,
yeah, this
squeeze
is so
them, and-
great. Yeah. Like you tapping out with a thing. Like so until I hurt this guy, he can just give up. I'm like, all right, cool.
yeah.
Because yeah.
You get into a fight in the hallway, you're suspended. You beat the shit out of this dude on the mat. Hey, you win.
Yeah, because I mean, my freshman year in high school, before puberty, I was like 14 with the high school, so I was really little. I was like 4'10", maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, and I did soccer, which you always do, and I did crew. I was a tiny little guy in the front of the boat, and they'd have to go to the gym, and I'd like go to the weightlifting room. But I was like little, I didn't do, and there was this massive man there that was gonna be the wrestling coach, but like they had to pay him like not just to be the wrestling coach, he had to do like other stuff, so he ran the gym. And like for a month or two, he would just heckle me like, "Are you gonna be a cheerleader? Is that all you're gonna be?" And I was like, "What do you?" I'm like, "Dude, like, what's the deal?" I'm like, "I'm a little kid. Like, what do you want me to do?" He's like, "You need to wrestle." And I was like, "Will you stop? Will you leave me alone?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll wrestle, whatever you want." And I just remember they were so mad between freshman and sophomore year. Puberty kicked in, so I came back like 5'6", like 140, and they're like, "What the fuck happened to you?" And I was like, I don't know. I'm like so happy having a deep voice, you know, you know, my balls dropped. I was like, oh, yeah. And yeah, I mean, wrestling was one of the roughest but best things I ever did in my life.
That's funny. But yeah, like I recently, not even recently anymore, it's got to be almost 10 years ago, I found, when I was in the Marines, I lifted a ton. Like I did a ton of like squatting, deadlifting, and powerlifting almost. Then I found CrossFit, and I was like, well, this is kind of cool. And that showed me weightlifting. And I really like excelled at that part of it, and then I just kind of slowly migrated to just weightlifting, which is a clean and jerk and a snatch. Just I'm short and thick, so that's kind of easy for me. The other stuff that like involves like cardio is awful because I'm not in shape, but I can like lift like 300 pounds once and sit down for 4 minutes.
Yeah, because you follow along, it's like I'm gonna get back into it. And it's like I like post some videos, and I'm like getting back into it. I'm like that's like a life. You know, like everything right there. So yeah, I do appreciate it.
I don't know, it's fun. You gotta do something.
Yeah.
My brother's like, oh, come play golf. I'm like, I'm never fucking playing golf. No.
Yeah.
I have too much.
I see you playing like 3 holes of golf, and then like being the guy that, like snaps his club.
Yeah, that's
and
me.
Like Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Like the things that are supposed to be relaxing, like golf and fishing, are the things that like completely drive me over the ledge. Cause
I've come to enjoy fishing a little more, but like with low expectations of actually catching anything. If I go and don't think I'm gonna catch anything, then it's good. Oh, okay.
What am I gonna do? I'm watching these guys? Alright.
Yeah. All right. Well, the dogs are here, and so I think we're good, man. Well,
cool.
Thanks a lot, man.
Anything else you need to know about me?
I know where to find you. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it, dude.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks very much.
Always a pleasure, man.
And there you have it, folks. Steve Raboin. R-A-B-O-I-N. Just think Boyne rhymes with coin because Steve's shit is money. Is that a stretch? I don't know. I was pretty proud of that when I came up with that. But you have been listening to episode number 45. 45 more episodes than we thought were humanly possible, and we are having a great time. We'll be excited. It's an upcoming milestones. We'll be excited when we do the 1-year anniversary in April. That'll get us, that'll make us really excited. That'll probably get us in the mid-50s by that point. And then from there, we're going to take it right to the Century Club. So we're not going anywhere. If you're an artist, we haven't found you, don't worry. We've got our sleuth team. We will find you. We will get you on the show, and the world will be your oyster. I don't get what that fucking means, by the way. I don't know. The world's my oyster. You only have like one little tiny. You open up an oyster, it's like really tiny. Like you don't get a lot. I mean, they're good, but you need to eat like a lot of oysters. I don't know, clams, whatever. I'm excited. I'm going to Portland next week. It's going to be great. But 16-ounce canvas, 16ozcanvas.com. You can find us ready. Get your pens out. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. And then there's going to be something cool or something I've never seen before. Obviously, wherever you get your podcasting on, you found us. Stream on the website. You can download it, email it to a friend, upload it to a thing, pirate it, take it, do whatever you got to do with it. But if you're doing something with it and you're over there, we wouldn't mind. We would appreciate a little like, maybe a little review. You know. It definitely does not go unnoticed. We had a sticker contest. We'll be sending out stickers to all of those who reached out. If you would like to receive one of our state-of-the-art Grateful Dead Pokemon collaboration pirated sticker jobs, reach out AJ at 16ozcanvas.com with your address, and we'll stick a sticker in the mail. Stick a. And we went with the aggressive music for Steve. We had a little Mastodon, got Deftones, we had Biggie, the trifecta of Steve, and we're having a good old time. So we really want to thank Steve again. Steve Raboin, rhymes with coin. Raboin on Instagram. Also, you can find his alter ego beer. I think it's a _muscles. That's a really cool thing that he's doing there. And like I said, he's a great work ethic. He's a really chill guy, really nice to talk to. He and I will be getting drunk at various events throughout the year. We'll share those for you. We'll get some more cameos, and we'll see where things go. So we're having a great time. Like I said, we are here each and every week. We make sure we have some content for you. We're trying our best to get you as much unique stuff every day, and that won't stop for the foreseeable future. Now, with all that underway, two things that we want to get to. One is my Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. Super Bowl 52 coming up, and cannot be more excited. So hopefully, if you don't have any skin in the game, your team is not the Patriots, then maybe I can get your support, your positive energy, and would love it. Would love it. Second, like I said before, we are heading up to Portland next weekend, heading up to Oxbow. Very excited to be, meeting some of our crew for the first time. Looking forward to meeting Mr. Mike Van Hall, meeting Carl Grandin, and also, Will Sears, who will be episode number 46 next week. We try to tie that in with his show Artistic Directions. And then while we're up there, we'll hopefully get the opportunity to cross off one of our bucket list items of Keith Shore agreeing to do the podcast at some point down the future. Keith does great work with McKellar. That's one of the other iconic labels and brands, and so the man is super busy, but hopefully we can get some time with Keith in 2018. And then lastly, this one is just more of a kind of a statement. We've seen lately a lot of these labels, a lot of issues that are coming up. And when I say a lot, I mean I think it's all relative. But whether it's the overtly sexist and terrible names, like panty dropper, or things that really degrade women and just are just really terrible. I want to say that that shit needs to stop. I mean, it's beer. You can argue that it's just beer, blah blah blah, but that still doesn't make it okay. Don't be an asshole. You have a mother, you have a sister, you have a wife, whatever, partner, lover, friend. Just don't be an asshole. I think that we need to do a better job of that. And hopefully, with folks standing up, we've seen that change. But just be, just try to be a better version of yourself, and just think about somebody other than yourself once in a while. And then lastly, this is like the most recent one, and it's really fucked. And I don't care what people say. And I definitely, express my opinions, on their page. There's a brewery in Canada that came out with a beer called Hanging Oak, and they thought that it was okay to display a tree with a noose on it. And, okay, if you want to say that it wasn't done as a racial thing, wasn't done as a racist, they didn't think about it, they made a mistake, but it is. I mean, it's not saying that they're approving, but they're trying to say, and when I say they, sadly for the brewery, it's a lot of their quote-unquote fans or patrons on their social sites are trying to defend it as a historical landmark or a historical site and this great, folklore tale of how they would hang criminals or they hung a fucking pirate or something ridiculous. And it's ridiculous. It's unacceptable. It's ridiculous. If they were foolish enough to, be blind or deaf to it, they should, they need to do a better job of that. And if you're out there and you're doing creative stuff, you're doing branding, whatever you're doing, give it a second opinion. Take 10 minutes. Take an hour. Call up a friend or email the idea. Just because somebody in your town, in this historical thing, use it to hang criminals or hang pirates. Noose hanging from a tree is fucking racial symbolism. It's racist. Deals with lynching and terrible imagery that people have. And just because it didn't happen in your town, don't make excuses for it. Think about somebody else. Thankfully, we can say that the brewery is scrapping it, so it'll no longer be the label they use, and they're going to, reinvent the beer in a new way. So what's inside the can is fine. But come on, people. It's a fucking beer, and you fighting for it is completely unnecessary. You can call me a snowflake, you can call me a leftist, a liberal, whatever you want to fucking call me. You call me that. But change the fucking label and do the right thing. Thankfully they are. But those folks who are calling themselves patrons or supporters of the brewery, in my opinion, are going to be the demise of that brewery. Because one of the beautiful things is there's so many breweries, even as Steve said, and this is not Steve's opinion, this is my opinion, AJ's opinion only. But years ago, there was 5 or 6 breweries in Connecticut. Now we're close to 60. So it's a business. And that's how you run your business. There's people who invested their money. There's jobs that can be created. But you know what? There's jobs that will be lost. Think, folks. Don't be an idiot. Think. And just in life, be compassionate and think about other people. Just because you're not a racist, just because you're not a sexist, does not mean that all of a sudden it goes away and doesn't exist. We don't want it to exist, but deal with the realities of what's around you in this world. Make the world a better place by being compassionate, looking at things with somebody else's eyes. The old euphemism, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. But, as the great Can says, don't be a douchebag. Until next week, folks. Hopping off the soapbox.